Now joining us now for his view on what retailers should do is Brian Walker. He's the Chief Executive of the group The Retail Doctor, which advises retailers on how to improve their at times struggling profits. Good morning to you. What do you think of what we just heard from Gary Black there?
Good morning, Michael. Look, this is a sort of a large and structural argument. I mean, at face value, and it's very true, Gary makes some very good points. There is a degree of inequity when we look at this issue of the threshold relative to international standards and benchmarks. Online in this country is roughly around 6 to 7% of total retail spend, of which 30% of that was offline or offshore purchases. Definitely there is inequity. It's not, however, the overriding single factor that's causing international lack of competitiveness in some of our retail sectors. There's much more at hand around scale, purchase, certainly quality of what we do. We're certainly improving. We're certainly moving in far faster into multi-channel. We are, as Gary says, getting increasingly competitive. If I take you back to Gary's comment on the issue of this levy, Treasury is saying that it will cost up to $450 million to affect the overhaul of the border processing to get this GST in place. We certainly think that the central point of having an equitable playing field for that particular topic is the right approach to take.
But even retailers like Myer boss Bernie Brooks themselves have more or less conceded they've dropped the ball. Here's what Bernie Brooks had to say yesterday on online shopping.
Our website is as good as most websites. It's not a great website yet, it will be going forward, but we're now into the game, we're fair dinkum about omni-channel, and we're starting to get some real lifts in sales in the area.
Well, Bernie Brooks there, the internet isn't exactly new, Brian. Can retailers stand accused of simply being too lazy, too slow to get in on the online action?
You know, we've got some world-class online or multi-channel retailers. I mean, I could name retailers like Lorna Jane, Top 3. There are many out there that are doing a great job. We are, by international standards, slower than some of our US and European-based counterparts. However, we're certainly catching up, and I think Gary makes that point. We're catching up at a rate of knots. So I think you could certainly argue that we're a little slower than some, but we are catching up fairly quickly.
Something in our local retailers' control is improving often pretty awful customer service. It was something Bernie Brooks said that Myer was putting a lot of work and investment in. How much of an issue is that, or low customer service simply driving people out of department stores, out of shops, straight to their computers to buy goods online?
Well, I think we would take this into context. The online sector in this country is roughly it's 6 to 7% of total retail spend. And we know through all our research, Michael, that Australians and internationally still want the human tactile experience. They want to go to physical stores, and the online channel supports process and efficiency. And when you look at online sales and you dissect them, they are classically in commoditized items at this stage: travel, entertainment, tickets, and so forth. So in context, we are still very much driven by the physical experience of shopping. Now, customer service, as Bernie points out, is a critical area, and you'll see our leading retailers are always working consistently to improve their customer service delivery. I certainly believe that our customer service levels across the country, by and large, are gradually improving.
How much of an issue as well is this seemingly constant discounting cycle we're seeing both the big and small retailers engaging in, where consumers now essentially have been conditioned to expect getting any good they buy on discount?
No doubt we've seen a very, very cautious consumer. I mean, there's no secret there. We've seen a much more static, slower retail spending environment. Suppliers and retailers have been caught in many cases with too much stock, too much inventory, and we're seeing a lot of discounting. And I agree, in many cases, regrettably, some of our retailers haven't focused on their value proposition, their point of difference, and in turn, Michael, they've gone to the discount route. And in many cases, we have conditioned customers to expect discounts, and in too many cases, that's been the only hand that retailers have played. And I think we're seeing that across the board, but that does cycle through. I might also make one other comment. When we look at the new global retailers coming into this country that are extremely successful already, you see very clearly they're not discounting, they've got a great value proposition and a very strong brand. And many of our retailers, I think, are learning quick lessons from these teachers, if you like.
Okay, Brian Walker, thank you very much for your insights this morning.